Welcome to Yoga Lifestyle 101, episode
17-ish?
20 maybe? We kind of lost count. If you look back at the very old videos, we did Yoga Lifestyle 101 for a while, where we talk about all sorts of topics to extend your yoga practice off the mat and out into your day and into your life. And today we're talking about what we eat, how we eat,
when we eat,
why
we eat.
And
we ask ourselves that too. I mean, we would like to just eat from the energy of the sun.
We're working on it.
We're working on it.
We still have a little bit to go. The question comes up because many of you asked. Thank you for using the channels of communication that we have, email, DM, comments, all that stuff, to reach out and ask us about what we eat and what our diet is like. And in this video today, we will address that and talk about that in more detail.
Before we jump into it, we want to say that we are yoga instructors, as you're probably very well aware of at this point. But we are not trained dietitians. We didn't get our certifications in health or nutrition around anything with food. We have just done our own exploration, as we do over the past decade, to discover and experiment with different types of foods, different types of eating cycles, and we now have come to a place within the last couple of years where we have finally found something that works perfectly for us. So the purpose of this video is not to tell you that you should be doing it, tell you that you should be following it, or really forcing you to do any of that at all.
Or change anything.
Yeah, we always recommend that you do your own research. We have lots of links below in the description explaining it more, and also if you're going to be making some drastic changes to your diet or lifestyle, it's always good to reach out to a trained nutritionalist and make sure that you're on track with that before you just jump headfirst into doing what we've been doing, because we're already several years into it. So it's good to do your research before you jump in.
We are not here to change your mind about anything, just like you don't want to change our mind or project your opinion on us. We are just sharing what we do because you asked. Right in the beginning, and to make it quick, we eat a whole foods, plant-based diet, and we do intermittent fasting for 20 hours every single day.
This to most people might sound very drastic, and the immediate questions start to already pop up, like, are you getting enough nutrients? Are you eating enough? How do you have enough calories? Like, how does that possibly work? For us, it just feels the best in our bodies. We've been doing this for a few years now, and we feel our best. We have an incredible amount of energy. I mean, if you watch our stories on Instagram, you know that we're practicing on the mat hard and strong, 1 to 3 hours a day. And we are not, lacking on energy or mental clarity or focus. If anything, all of that has been amplified, and we just feel really good in our body.
There's a misconception about if you don't eat enough, you don't have enough energy, you have a lack of focus and recovery and strength. But actually, from what we have found out and what also the research shows that we have read and the science behind it, is that actually when you are in a fasting state and you are not eating, you in fact have more focus and more mental clarity and more strength and better recovery. So all these things that people tell you are, not the case or are not true, or facts that they throw at you, it turns out that for us and for a lot of people that are on the same journey and follow the same kind of lifestyle, they experience the exact same things. Increased focus, better recovery, a lot more strength. I can really go roll jiu-jitsu for 2 hours with no breaks. We practice on the mat for hours a day. We have no low throughout the day, always feeling very light and focused and just super energized from eating less and also from eating plant-based. It sounds like this is completely crazy, and of course this is what we thought what we would have thought, I guess, 10 years or so ago as well, if someone told us this, because it's not that we have been doing this our whole life. We both grew up in areas in the world, in the US, Montana, and also in Germany, where it's very common to eat meat, and a lot of people do, and so we grew up eating meat as well for the majority of our life, the first 25 years or longer or so even. We never really questioned it.
Thanks for not listing my age.
You're welcome. We never really questioned it. It was for me kind of by accident how I got into eating vegetarian. That was many years ago, about 6 years ago. It just felt amazing. Once I cut out the meat, I felt so light already, so focused, so energized, a lot better recovery. It was just mind-blowing to me, and I kind of came into it by accident and then just stuck with it because it felt so good in my body. And then from being vegetarian for so many years, it then turned into eating plant-based as well, and then also started adding the fasting. We'll go into that in a little bit more detail in just a second. For Brie, it was very similar. She came into it also from just not feeling so good in her body.
Yeah, just feeling sick all the time and feeling lethargic and
Heavy
and low energy and exhausted and like could not get my shit together basically. And as soon as I cut out meat and dairy, game changer. Like my energy went through the roof. It was literally 3 days of me cutting out dairy and my bloating had gone down, my inflammation started to go down, mental clarity came back, I was sleeping better, like all of these things. And it was really like less than a week of me cutting this out. And I had already started to notice the physical and mental changes.
The same for me. It was just a couple of days of not eating meat that I already felt the huge benefits of it. So very similar. It's I think a lot of people experience that very fast. And also know that if you're someone that has tried out eating vegetarian or plant-based, and there's a lot of people that did and then they say it didn't work for me, just know that just like with your regular diet, let's say what most people eat is meat, let's call that the regular diet. Nowadays, there's still allergies that you can have and things that just don't go well in your body. And you then, of course, would cut those out and you would not say, oh, the whole meat eating thing doesn't work for me. But that's usually what happens if people try eating plant-based and then they don't feel good because of whatever reason, maybe an allergy, maybe they're not drinking enough, maybe they can't handle all the fiber they're all of a sudden eating and taking in. And then they don't feel good and they say this whole plant-based thing doesn't work for me. So if that's you, then we highly encourage you to look into the studies, the science, go to those people here on YouTube that dedicate their entire channel to eating plant-based, eating vegetarian, fasting, and go to those people that are oftentimes nutritionists or experts in their field. And you can learn a lot more from them than you can learn from us. We are really just talking about what works for us and sharing that with you today. Again, no advice or suggestion for you to do the same, but we encourage you to always question things, to question especially what everyone else is doing around you, and question especially if everyone's doing a certain thing but no one's really questioning it. Look into it deeper and do your own research and then try out and do what feels best in your body.
Flo and I got into plant-based and fasting not because anybody else was telling us to do it. In fact, we were told to not be doing it from many different people. And I mean, not even our families. Our families have been super supportive the entire way, but it's more just the mainstream media and the constant advertisements. And yeah, I mean, most of the stuff that you hear about meat having protein or being your only source of protein, or that you need to be eating breakfast because it's the most important meal of the day, or you need to drink dairy because it gives you calcium and makes your bones strong. Like, most of those programs, most of those advertisements that are given to you are actually sponsored by the meat industry, the dairy industry. They're sponsored by, even the breakfast slogans are made by cereal companies to get people to buy them. So it's really, for us, we've always been experimental people. Like, we want to explore it and try it in our own bodies. We did this with sleep cycles, we've done this with food, we've done this with fasting, like all sorts of things in our life we experiment with because we want to see what feels best for us. We, of course, want to take advice from people and like hear different opinions and like see the other side of things. But for us, really becoming plant-based and stepping into this fasting lifestyle was, I mean, at least 5 years of going vegetarian and then going down this avenue of becoming plant-based over the last 2 years of that. But for fasting, we've actually been doing this for 3 years already. So January, 3 years ago, is when we first started getting into fasting. And for that, we did 1 day a week fasting. And then Flo is doing intermittent fasting in the mornings, cutting out breakfast. For me, I was doing once a week, so I cut out eating on Monday. So we did that for a full year, and then the second year we tried something else. We did I ate for 5 days and took 2 days off, and he continued intermittent fasting and then maybe increased the window. So we played around with our eating windows and our eating days and tried longer day fasts and shorter day fasts and all of that. And what we've come to is now for the past year and a half, actually, we've been doing a 20 and 4, which means that we fast for 20 hours and then we eat for 4. We've been more intuitive about when we're actually eating. We don't just eat because it's time to eat, we eat because we're hungry. And now it's to the point that we've been fasting for a year and a half where we're not hungry in the morning. Like, we really don't get hungry until about 11, which is when we break our fast. And then, around 2 or 3 p.m., we wrap up and we're full. And then we don't eat for the rest of the evening and the night, and we just drink tea or water. And in the morning we just drink water and coffee. It's really not hard for us anymore. I think of course, as you're getting into fasting and you're exploring it, it was really challenging for us too. And it's great to have a buddy that does it with you. It doesn't even have to be a partner. It can be a friend who's also doing it. But having someone there to help hold you accountable and talk you through those moments where you're like, oh, I think I want to break my fast. Because over time, your body just starts to adapt and learn that it doesn't actually need as much food as we have been telling it that it needs. And now that we eat only 4 hours a day, we have so much more energy. Our body doesn't have to be using energy digesting food. We can actually let our digestive tract sleep for the most part, or rest, while we use the energy doing other things. It costs less, it takes less time, we only prepare 1 meal a day. It's just a very simple way to live. And in addition to the reasons that Flo already mentioned about fasting, it also boosts your immune system, it boosts your metabolism, and your body starts to go into what's called ketosis, which is, there's this concept called autophagy. Basically, when your healthy cells in your body start to attack your sick cells and absorb and pull the nutrients from them. So it's kind of like a self-cleansing system that's going on without even trying. All you're doing is drinking water and you're letting your body go to work on itself. And it's really magical that you can heal your body by abstaining from eating. And we don't think of it as a diet, or that we're restricting ourselves or holding back. We're not even thinking about it. Honestly, it's a lifestyle for us, and we feel really good in our bodies now at this point. And not to say it was always like that. We've already mentioned that we've been doing this for a few years now. So if you're new to this and getting into this or interested in exploring it, please don't jump into immediately doing a 20 and 4. It's going to be pretty hard on your system, and it might even work the opposite because your body has been so used to getting food and now all of a sudden you're stopping. And so we recommend, as always, is to do your own research. We have a lot of links below where people devoted their entire channels to fasting, and they explain a healthy and safe way to get into it.
The process of change and introducing change, when we say that we fast for 20 hours every single day, it's not that you should be motivated and inspired and do the same if you are motivated by this. Of course, look into it first, do proper research, and then introduce that change slowly. You don't want to jump into that from 5-6 meals, short meals a day, what you may be doing now, what a lot of people tell you that you need to eat every couple hours. From jumping from that into not eating for 20 hours is probably not a good idea, and that's also not how we did it. I did 16 and 8 intermittent fasting for a year, and then 18 and 6 for a year, and then 20 and 4 for 1.5 years. So that's 3.5 years of fasting experience, slowly easing into it. We have also tried for several months eating only 1 meal a day, which basically is a 22-hour fast, and you really eat a long extended lunch. That's what we did for 2 hours, but it didn't really work for us that well. We didn't feel more benefit than the 20 and 4, so we went back to the 20 and 4. But if you feel lots of benefits from the 16-8 or the 18 and 6, then just stick to that. If those numbers are confusing to you, then look into intermittent fasting. Check out the resources we linked below to get a deeper insight into that. And the whole reason about the fasting is really not to lose weight or to be lean or anything. It's really for the benefit of healing the body from within. It's very beneficial and very natural actually for the body to have periods of time where you don't eat it's very unnatural to always have food available and be eating every few hours so that your digestive tract actually has always to work. If you eat breakfast and then from then on, every 2-3 hours you eat something, it's really working the whole time. And a lot of health and also diseases come from your intestines and from the food you eat and from your digestion. And so by eating less, detaching yourself from food, eating all the time and fasting longer and being okay with not eating, you not only train your willpower, because it's really all in your head that you think you need to eat every few hours. You really don't. You don't even need to eat every other day or so, if you will. The body is completely fine for most people if you're not eating. Of course, there can be certain conditions, which is why we suggest you don't try this out, what we say here, consult a doctor first. But for a lot of people, if you're a healthy individual, you're probably fine to not eat for several days. It's just in your mind that you think you need to, and that your mind is telling you, I need to eat now, I'm feeling very hungry, but your body is fine. And so you really train not only the willpower, but also you detach yourself from food, from eating all the time, from being controlled by the food you eat, and having the food control your day and your schedule. Really, you really only eat in that window, and then outside of that you can do whatever you want. After eating for 4 hours, or that 4-hour window, we're also not eating the whole time, like constantly for 4 hours. We still have like smaller meals within that 4-hour window, but after that we don't even want to eat for the next 20 hours. We're actually excited to not eat and fast until the next day, when it's again time to eat at 11 or something. It's very interesting when people ask, like, what do you do for dinner invites and when you go to dinner events? And the answer is, honestly, we don't go to any dinner events anymore because it's always becomes a topic. We always have to explain why we fast, and we also don't want to make people feel bad because they take it very personally. If we say, yeah, we just decide to not eat and we just drink tea and they're eating, a lot of people are triggered by this and they feel bad about it, or feel bad about themselves, and we also don't want that. Although we are not responsible for their emotions, it's their choice to be triggered by it and feel bad.
Or they're offering it to us. They're like, are you sure? You sure you don't want to eat? Are you hungry? Like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. And then it makes them not enjoy their meal.
Exactly.
And it's just, yeah, that's
And
not
we just
really
don't
the
want
intent.
that. So we don't want to be in that situation at all. So we say, you have your dinner and we come over afterwards for tea, or we invite people, or we go to them for lunch, or we just meet for tea, or most of our friends now, our close friends know we're fasting most of the time, so they either want to meet us for lunch or outside of it, and then we drink a tea, and our good friends of course understand they can just eat and we don't mind and they don't mind, and we just have a tea. But it takes some time to get used to it. Once you have been doing it, like everything that's new, it's hard in the beginning, but then over time it gets easier and easier, and people understand. They know it's part of your life and it's your lifestyle, and you're doing it in an authentic way, and you are doing what feels good, not buying into what everyone else is doing only because everyone's doing it. You actually did your research, you experimented, and you know what feels good for you, and then you should be doing those things that feel good for you.
And you also don't need to explain yourself to anyone else. Like, we don't feel the need to justify why we're doing anything. We're not looking for external validation from other people to tell us or reward us that we're on track, or
why
like
do
any
we
of
eat
that.
plant-based, or why do we fast? Like,
Because
that's what we do.
It feels good for us.
That's what we
why.
do. We do our thing, you do your thing. That's what
Yeah.
we do. We
Yeah.
also don't ask you why do you do your thing. Please explain why you eat this way.
Yeah, we do us, and that's fine. Don't feel like if you get into this lifestyle, don't feel like you need to become like an extreme advocate of fasting or an extreme advocate of being plant-based, or you have to dive head in and like learn everything about it. Like, there's so much to learn about it. The topic is incredibly vast, which is also why it took us like 2 years to even put this video together, because we talk so much about it, but it's hard to actually verbalize like how we do it or why we do it. And the answer is there is so much information out there. So this video really is just to give you just a little glimpse and a sliver into what it is for us. But again, we want to put the cards back on your side of the table and invite you to do your own research about it. We have lots of links below in the description. We've mentioned before about a lot of people that know a lot more about this topic than we do and can explain it much better and in much more detail than we can, especially on the scientific perspective. But
studies and science and everything that's like behind it, what's going on in the body and what the research says. A lot of people believe in science and research, and so there's a lot of research and science behind it.
But overall, we see our lifestyle around food and around eating as being our spiritual connection to ourselves, our spiritual connection to the universe. And for us, fasting and eating plant-based is most in alignment with how we feel energetically with our connection to ourselves and the connection to the universe. So we won't go into a ton of details about that. Maybe in 10 years we'll do another vlog on eating plant-based and connection to energy and that whole big vast topic. But for now, we'll just leave you with the idea that this feels the most in alignment for us. And that's ultimately why we do it. It's a lifestyle. It's not that we're restricting ourselves from certain things that we would love to be doing, but we can't. Like, we're actually doing these things because we love doing these things and they feel the best for us.
It feels most in alignment with our practice and the discoveries of our practice, and the further we deepen our practice, this just feels very aligned with our practice of yoga and our lifestyle, our spiritual practice and our path. And this is why we chose to go that path and align really our whole life to benefit our growth and our journey of yoga.
We hope this video today has given you some insight into what we do with our life, how we eat, when we eat. But of course, the topic is massive. We want to end this video by saying that we are us and you are you. And it's really up to you to discover what works best in your body. Don't take what you hear from us, don't take what you hear from other people. Like, please just do your own research. Be more open to exploring the possibility that what you've been doing maybe isn't the healthiest for you, or maybe it is. How do you even know if you haven't tried? Yeah. So do what feels good for you, and if you're not sure what feels good for you, then do more research on that.
Today was just an overview of the general topic of food and diet. Soon we will be posting a video on what we eat in a day, the day really being that 4-hour window that we eat in. But there you will see the exact amounts and types of food and how much and how often in that 4-hour window we eat. It will explain a little bit more about what we do. Until then, keep up the practice. Thank you for your support here on this platform. We'll see you soon. Namaste.
Namaste.